Hi, how are you all doing? I hope you're always doing well. As usual, I'll leave the link to the previous episodes in the pinned comment, and I'll also make a playlist so you can just click it and all the episodes will play one after another. Sound good? Let's go. At the beginning of episode 5, we see Master Kamehameha gathering the children of the tribe and giving them a lesson about planting taro. You might ask, why taro? I'd say because I love it, but also because he really was talking about taro. Kamehameha used it as a metaphor between farming and their tribe, meaning that the roots are like the fathers and grandfathers, and the plants that grow from those roots are like the children, and without their roots, they have no value. So they must care for their homeland and their land as well, and help build their tribe. Then he tells them, go work the land. Next, we move to Kioa, who is sitting somewhere on volcanic rocks with a fortune teller, sharing his troubles. He tells her, my father didn't give me the position of Minister of Defense. He gave it to Kamehameha. My father pushed my head into the dirt. Oh, fortune teller. She replies, don't worry, my son. This is a trial and you must be patient. You will surely come out victorious. Then she recites some prayers, and suddenly hot steam rises around Kioa to the point it burns his back, but he takes it all as strength, entering his body. After that, we go to the ship where Kiana is. As usual, he's sitting there organizing his weapons, cleaning and sharpening them, lining them up and making sure they're ready for action at any moment. He also has Tony working with him. What's up with that, Kiana? You freed him just to make him your servant? Anyway, Tony is extremely grateful to Kiana for freeing him from slavery. He says, I'll never forget this favor for the rest of my life, Kiana. Truly, I'll never forget it. Kiana laughs, leaves him, and goes up to the top of the ship to talk for a bit with Phi. And he asked her, didn't you once tell me you had relatives on our islands? Phi answered yes, then explained that long ago, when she left the islands, she had abandoned her infant son, who was still just a baby, and that this was the one thing she regretted most in her entire life. Oh, so you left your child behind. Could it really be that Kiana is your son after all? But Phi was clearly heartbroken and longed to see her boy again. We then shift to Kupuohi and Namaki, who were spending their time in love and romance, enjoying life to the fullest. A few hours later, Kiana's ship finally reaches the islands, and the first to spot them is John. The moment Kiana sets foot on the island's sand, he kneels down, grabs the sand with his hands, and looks overjoyed. At that very moment, Kupuohi and Namaki were still exchanging playful glances, but suddenly the news reached them that Kiana had returned. Those playful looks quickly turned into expressions of fear. Meanwhile, on the other side, Moku comes to meet Kiana and says, what? You're Kiana? Weren't you the one who helped Kahakili conquer Oahu? What are you doing here? Kiana replies, you're right. I did help Kahakili, but I'm not here to ask for forgiveness. I'm here to help you and make amends for my sin. Moku, speaking with arrogance and pride, says, that's something Kamehameha will decide, not me. As for the men who came with you on this ship, they need to return to their vessel and stay there. None of them will set foot on our land. And as for Phi, the woman with you, she left our islands long ago, and we must hold a council to decide her fate. Kiana agrees, and then turns back to the captain and his men, telling them, sorry, my friends, return to the ship for now until I resolve this matter with the chief of the tribe. At that moment, the men said, all right, and then Kupuohi came in. As soon as Kiana saw her, he was overjoyed, ran to her, and hugged her tightly, then embraced her sister as well, and even her sister's husband, who happened to be his own brother. Meanwhile, Namaki quickly took off the necklace he had taken from Kupuohi, because if Kiana had seen it on his neck, he would have cut his head off without hesitation. Namaki rushed over and hugged him too. At the same time, on the other side, Jack went over to greet the ship's crew, and they couldn't believe he was still alive. They thought he had already perished. They invited him back to the ship, but Jack told them no. His presence here was better for everyone, and he sent them back to the ship while he stayed behind. Then Nahi started talking with Kiana, asking, man, why are you wearing pants covering your thighs like those pale-skinned people? No way, Kiana. Here in the tribe, a real man has to show his thighs whenever he walks. And that other part too, you know what I mean, Kiana replied. That's just how they dress in the West. They say it's something called modesty. I don't know. Nahi, brother, I don't get this strange talk of theirs. Then Kiana gathered all the children of the tribe, poured a bit of gunpowder on his hands, and lit it up in front of them. To them, this was like a miracle, and they thought Kiana was some kind of sorcerer. Anyway, after that, Kiana spoke with Namaki and Nahi, asking them about Kamehameha. They told him he was a very good man, that he deeply cared about his people. But Kiana told them that wasn't enough. Kamehameha needed to be shrewd and strategic because the challenges ahead wouldn't be easy. He also told them they hadn't come here just to live among them, but to prepare for war, and that the war he was about to wage, no one would be able to stand against it. Immediately after, he took them to the council where Kamehameha was supposed to be. There, he was confronted by Como, who for the second time spoke to him disrespectfully. Como said, Kamehameha is not here, and you have no place in our council. You'd better get out of my sight because you're wasting my time. It's worth noting that Como had no idea that Kiana could easily pull out a gun, shoot him, and end him right there. But Kiana remained patient and humble. Anyway, Kiana kept his composure and walked away, while Kahumanu was standing there watching everything, noticing how Como was acting arrogantly for no reason. We leave them and go to Phi, who had gone to a place where some children and a man were gathered. Phi focused on that man, then on a particular boy, and the moment that boy saw her, he froze and stared at her too. Eventually, he went back to where his siblings and wife were, and while he was talking with his wife, Namaki quietly slipped away. Kiana asked him, "Where are you going?" Namaki replied, "I'm going to burn incense and offer a sacrifice to celebrate your return, my brother." At that moment, Kupuohi was very anxious, and just as Kiana was about to take her into the tent, John came up and told him that Kahumanu had sent for him. So Kiana went to meet Kahumanu. She chatted with him and said, "Since you've seen the world, can you tell me what you've witnessed?" Kiana answered, "There are many wonderful things, so many different peoples and races, but there's also a great deal of evil. People killing people with modern weapons, invading any land that holds wealth, taking its resources and leaving behind only destruction, wounded and dead. And that is exactly what will happen to us soon if we don't unite and face this evil together." Hearing this, Kahumanu secretly took Kiana to Kamehameha behind Moku's back. At that time, Master Kamehameha was planting taro, and when Kiana saw him like that, he said, "Wait, this is the chief of the tribe? Give me 10 seconds, and I'll grab some cilantro and meat, and we'll cook up a meal." Just joking, of course. Kahumanu then left them alone, and Kamehameha began speaking with Kiana. From their conversation, you could tell the two of them clicked instantly. They developed a natural chemistry. Kamehameha was deeply impressed by Kiana's mind full of strategies, because Kamehameha himself was also a brilliant strategist. So he told Kiana, "Listen, we're going to put you through a challenge we have here. If you win, it means our gods want you to be part of our council. But if you lose, well, no offense, but you'll have to bring us that cilantro and meat instead." Again, joking with him. On the other side, Kioa gathered his council and all the tribal chiefs, trying hard to turn them all against Kamehameha. After many attempts and long arguments, insisting that he was supposed to be the Minister of Defense, the chiefs still stood by the decision of Kiowa's father. They firmly believed Kamehameha was far more suitable for the position. They told him plainly, "Kioa, Kamehameha is much more fit for this role than you, and we will not make any move against him. We don't want a civil war." But of course, Kioa didn't like what he heard, because deep inside he was consumed with jealousy and hatred toward Kamehameha. Still, he stayed silent and didn't speak further. Meanwhile, Kiana finally returned to Kupuohi and at last took her into the tent. At the same time, Namaki was sitting by the shore, pouring out his troubles to the sea. The next morning, Kiana took his siblings and went to Kamehameha to learn what the challenge was all about. It turned out to be a test where each participant grabbed something like a sled and had to ride it down a very steep slope, with the winner being the first to reach the water safely. The people of the tribe kept saying no one had ever beaten Kamehameha in this challenge before. On top of that, it was Kiana's very first time attempting it. Each man picked his sled and stood at the top of the slope, waiting for the man with the whistle to give the signal. The moment he blew, they all leapt down with their sleds. The sleds were made of wood, and the ground beneath was covered in gravel, making it extremely dangerous. Sure enough, what we expected happened. One of the four had his sled break apart and was thrown to the side. Shortly after, the same thing happened to another. That left only Kiana and Kamehameha. But Kiana, clever and sharp, had been closely observing the two whose sleds broke, watching their mistakes carefully so as not to repeat them. At the same time, he studied Kamehameha's moves, imitating his techniques step by step. Kamehameha was truly surprised by Kiana's endurance, and then came the big twist. Kiana actually beat Kamehameha by the smallest margin, hitting the water just before him. Kamehameha said, "Man, you're reckless. You weren't even paying attention to the rocks or the slopes. You just charged straight through without fear. And that's probably why you won today, because you're not afraid, Kiana." Then he added, "Welcome, warrior, to our council." Later that same day, Kiana took Moku onto the ship he had arrived with and told him, "If Kamehameha is really the one who was prophesied, like you say, he's still going to need my help." Then he showed him the weapons he had brought along and said, "Look at this, Moku. See this rifle? It has the power to rip out your tongue in an instant. And I've got plenty of them." In that moment, Moku realized the immense power Kiana had in his hands. That very night, we see four figures sneaking through the darkness, heading straight for the storage houses where Kamehameha kept his food supplies. They set the stores ablaze, and it turns out those men were none other than Kioa and some of his soldiers. The next morning, everyone was searching to figure out what had happened. Nobody knew who set the fire, but Kiana knew exactly, and he told them it had to be Kioa. Kamehameha was standing there and said, "I can't go to war with my cousin." Kiana advised them, "King Kahakili could attack us at any time. Before that happens, we need to unite all the islands, which means we have to finish off Kioa and go to war with him." But his wife Kupuohi was present and said, "We won't do that. There could be another solution. We'll talk to him. Kioa has been my friend since childhood, and I'm sure he'll listen to me. I'll go speak to him myself to try and make peace between Kamehameha and Kioa." Kiana answered, "Fine, I'll come with you." Kamehameha turned to his wife Kahumanu and asked her opinion. She said, "Kupuohi is right. We should try peace first." Everyone agreed to the plan. Meanwhile, deep inside Hawaii, in the Kau Desert, we saw Kioa sitting by a fire. The fortune teller came to him, and he demanded his father's crown. He told her, "This crown only chains me." Then he threw his father's crown into the fire and burned it, saying, "From now on, I'll work for myself, no matter the cost." On the other side, in the kingdom of Oahu, Kahakili was also sitting by a fire. His men brought him fish, and a priest performed rituals to grant him strength, preparing him a special drink. When Kahakili drank it, he saw faint visions of the future. His son, Kupuohi, was in the forest with his friend. The friend asked him, "Why is your father so determined to wipe out the royal bloodlines?" Kupuohi replied, "Even I don't know." His friend answered, "Your father has lost his way. I believe you should be king. You have strength, wisdom, and the people's trust. Your father's support in Maui and Oahu is collapsing, and those who still love him are few. Everyone wants you." But Kupuohi refused. His friend said, "Send me to Maui. I'll finish your father, and I'll place all the inheritance at your feet." Still, Kupuohi refused. In Kohala, Hawaii, we saw Nahi training. His wife Heki came to him and said, "I also want to learn to fight. Can you teach me?" Nahi agreed and began teaching her combat. She also told him, "Since Kiana returned, Kupuohi has changed. She's been so quiet." Nahi said he knew nothing about it. Meanwhile, Kiana was elsewhere, cleaning and working on his rifles. Suddenly, Kupuohi entered and told him, "You spend all day with these weapons. Now you even dress in full clothes like strangers do." But Kiana didn't answer her and walked away. At the same time, large amounts of rifles were being unloaded from the ship and stacked on the shore. Moku was there and told Kiana, "Tell your men to stockpile plenty of food because the time for war has come." The ship's captain was also there and asked Kiana, "How's your sandalwood trade going?" Kiana replied, "Be patient. Everything will go well soon." The captain told him, "Take care of yourself in the war, Kiana. You must live." Kiana answered, "Don't worry. Nothing will happen to me." Meanwhile, Kupuohi went to speak with his father Kahakili and said, "Maui used to be the greatest kingdom, and the people had faith. But little by little, you've been destroying the other royal families, and I hate it. We can't disgrace the name of our kingdom." His father replied, "You're right. It's our responsibility to keep Maui safe." Then he showed him 2 men hanging there and said, "These men tried to kill me. That's why I'll keep them alive until they die in agony. And you yourself said Maui's safety is most important. To protect it, we must erase traitors like these." After that, he left. One of the prisoners hanging there said to Kupuohi, "Your father is too cruel." Kupuohi pulled out a knife and ended the man's suffering. Later, Kiana approached Kahumanu, who was standing and looking at the ship, and said, "I want to talk to you." She sat him down, and he told her, "This morning you said we should talk to Kioa and give peace a chance, but I don't agree with that. Not from you, and not from my wife. What we need is bloody war so Kioa learns his lesson. Talking to him would be the greatest mistake we could make." Kahumanu answered, "Try to speak to him just once. If not for the people, then for me." So Kiana set out with his wife toward the Kau Desert to meet Kioa and talk with him. When they neared the Black Desert, Kioa's men surrounded them. Kahumanu called out, "Go tell Kioa his cousin has come to speak with him." One man ran to fetch him, and Kioa came. He said to his cousin, "It's been a long time since you visited." She replied, "I came to talk with you." And she pulled out a white stone, saying, "I came with an offer of peace. Let what's between you and Kamehameha be settled so we can sit and negotiate." Kioa said, "If Kamehameha wants peace, I agree, but he holds the title of the god of war, and he must hand it to me. If he doesn't, then war it is." Kahumanu tried to persuade him, saying, "If we keep fighting like this, Kahakili will crush us and rule all of Hawaii. Please agree." But he bluntly refused. Kiana looked at his wife and said, "I told you from the start this man wouldn't agree, and yet you brought him an offer of peace. A man like this has to be removed." He pulled out his pistol and aimed it at Kioa. Kioa said, "I don't fear the weapons of pale-skinned foreigners. War is coming." Kiana grew furious but held himself back and didn't shoot. Kioa continued, "Your father was a great man, but you've disgraced his name. You speak the stranger's tongue and live like them. We'll meet soon on the battlefield." Then he left with his men. Kupuohi was upset with Kiana and said to him, "You couldn't stay quiet for just 2 minutes. Why did you have to interrupt and ruin the plan? We could have reached a peace agreement." At that moment, Tony brought in a large shipment of weapons and began distributing them to the people, explaining how to use the rifle step by step. First clean it, then load the gunpowder, then the small bullet, then aim and pull the trigger. They all started learning how to shoot. Meanwhile, Kioa went back to the fortune teller, who was standing alone. He told her, "Kiana has come with weapons, but I'm not afraid. I want to call upon the ancestors to help me in this war." She told him, "My son, no matter what you do, you can't defeat them. They have the gods of war on their side. That's why your father never lost, because the power of the war gods was with him. No matter what we do, we'll be defeated." Kiana returned to Kamehameha and told him, "We went to Kioa with an offer of peace, but he refused. He only wants war." Moku was present and said, "If we don't act quickly, the other chiefs will see us as weak. We must attack him now. Any delay won't serve us." Kamehameha replied, "I won't drag myself into the spiral of war. Once, I disappeared from the council and went at night to a village in Puna, and I was attacked there. Even my canoe paddle was broken." Moku asked, "Where were your guards? Why didn't they protect you? I'll punish them right away." Kamehameha said, "It wasn't their fault. I left without telling anyone, and the people attacked me because they thought I was a thief coming to plunder. Later, I met the elders of the village, and when they realized who I was, they were afraid." Kiana said, "Fear is a powerful tool." Kamehameha answered, "I don't want to rule people through fear. Starting today, there is a new law, the law of peace. Anyone who comes near us or tries to harm us, we won't kill them as long as our lives aren't in direct danger. Killing will only happen if our lives are threatened, whether the person is an ordinary man or from the royal family." Elsewhere, Kahakili was sitting when Kioa came to him. Kahakili welcomed him and asked, "Why have you come?" Kioa replied, "I heard you speak of a prophecy that someone will come to rule over all, but I think that prophecy is a lie. There's a man named Kamehameha who has taken everything from me. He possesses powers that should be mine, the powers of the war gods. That's why I ask you to stand by me in battle." Kahakili realized that the Hawaiian kingdom had become divided and said, "Why shouldn't I just kill you here and take Hawaii for myself?" Kioa answered, "If you kill me, the entire kingdom of Hawaii will unite against you, and history shows your kingdom has never defeated Hawaii when it was united." Kahakili asked, "And if I help you, what do I gain in return?" Kioa said, "Peace will reign in my kingdom, and the prophecy you spread will be promoted among my people too. It's in your favor, and in the future, Hawaii will never stand against you." Kahakili looked at him and said, "I see fire in your eyes. Fine, I'll send you a battalion to help." Kioa left, and Kahakili spoke to his son Kupuohi, saying, "Hawaii is divided, and this is our chance. Go find a man named Oboni and tell him to join Kioa." Kupuohi said, "Why him? He's reckless and always causes trouble. Send me instead. I'll get the job done." Kahakili replied, "Oboni can do what you cannot. This mission suits him." Kupuohi went into the forest and found Oboni. He told him, "You must stand with Kioa and go to Maui to fight there. This is a royal command." Oboni said, "If it's a royal command, why didn't the king send his son? Why send me? Fine, I'll go to Maui and help Kioa win, but after that, I'll take the victory for myself. I'll kill him and take his place." Kupuohi said, "My father never ordered you to kill Kioa." Oboni replied, "I know your father's game well, whether you understand it or not, and I'm ready to play it." Meanwhile, Kahumanu went to Kamehameha and said, "You called for me." Kamehameha said, "Bring Kiana. We need him in the council, but are his intentions clear?" Kahumanu answered, "Kiana doesn't see the world the way we do. His ideas are different. He also wants peace, but in his own way, through blood and war to achieve it." Kamehameha asked, "Do you trust him?" She replied, "I trust he'll make the right decision." Then Kamehameha walked away. Her father approached her and said, "Kamehameha always listens to you. You're the reason Kiana and Kamehameha have united this way. Together, they're hard to break, and their decisions won't change easily." Kahumanu said, "If those two stay together, I can't be sure what they'll do, but we need them badly for what's coming." Her father warned her, "If your plan doesn't work out, everyone will blame you because you're the one who goes around speaking to people, even to Kiana's wife, Kupuohi. You stand with both sides, even though their ideas oppose each other." Then he left. Finally, we see another Spanish ship approaching the island. On board was a man named Marley, who had a history of conflict with Kiana. That meant the Spaniards were planning to attack this island as well. And with this tension, the episode ends. We hope you enjoyed the recap, and we'll see you in the next episode. If you want more science fiction series like this, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Until we meet again, stay happy and take care of yourselves. Thanks for watching.